here's the arm of the chair, and we already sewed, this is the back of the wing, we already sewed that onto the seat back. So we had this, so this is stitched and this was just hanging here. So what I did was took the arm fabric and started to pin it in. Oops, I have a pin coming loose there. Just put that back in. There we go. So pin that so it would sit back into the crease, and then I pinned part of the arm fabric, the inside of the arm fabric, onto the inside of the wing. Then that pinned around the front. I had some additional pinning to do where the side of the wing meets the side of the chair, or the front of the wing meets the side of the chair. I didn't stitch all the way down, so I did some additional pinning there, but all of the rest of this is stitched. And then you can see that there, this is where they all meet. So this is pinned around here. Now here's our piping. This is the piping that runs all along the back of the chair and down the front side of the wings. And then this is where it ends. So it simply is going to disappear into this seam. So I inserted it in there, made sure it was going on the outside where the raw edges were, and I trimmed it. And now this is the arm piece. It's from the inside of the arm, goes over the arm, and is pinned along to the side piece of fabric. Now right now it's just hanging loose, but once we make the piece for the front of the arm, that's going to pull it up so the seam will sit inside of the roller, underneath the roll there. So that is how that's pinned. Around here is normally the trickiest part, and here, that's kind of where I always end up with a bunch of weird puckers and stuff. But that's okay, they still end up looking really good. So if you're having a tough time there, don't be discouraged. That is definitely the hardest part. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this part, and I'm going to pin and sew the other arm as well. And then all we have left for the body of the slipcover is the seat here and the apron front. So now we're on to the arm of the chair. And so I've cut a piece of fabric that's just about the right size to cover the chair. And then I cut a piece of the pre-made piping that is long enough to run around the arm where I want it to go. So I'm going to make sure I have enough on both ends, and I'm going to start pinning it in the middle. You just get kind of used to all the threads when you're working with drop cloths. Okay, so I'm going to pin it on. Just ignore the firearm sounds. That's my son playing on his computer in the other room. I have a babysitter today, so. Okay, so I like to do the pins on the outside when I'm doing the arms, but you can do them wherever you want. And I'm just going to put the piping exactly where I'm going to want it on the finished slipcover. And you're just kind of making a sandwich with the piping. So you've got the piping, the arm side, and the front piece. Oops, I just pinned that on the wrong side. There we go. All right, now we're going to pin things down the other side on the inside of the arm. Okay, and you want to make sure that you pin it a little below where the arm goes so that you have kind of a seam allowance to work with. Oh, that pin just bent. Okay, there we go. And again, to make this all a little bit easier to work with, I'm just going to trim it. And now I'm going to go sew the arms. So there you go. That's about how it should look. Oops, let's see. We'll maybe put one more pin in there. When you're going around curves, you want to use a lot of pins because it will just be a much better guide for you when you're sewing. So you get a nice curve here. If you only put a pin here and a pin here, you might end up sewing a straight line and not a curve, and it just won't look as good. We'll clean this up a little bit more. Okay, so there's the arm. Okay, now we have the arms sewn. The front of the arms have been sewn on, and I have pinned the bottom of the seat onto the side of the arms and the back of the seat on the wing chair. So I just wanted to show you what that pinning looked like. I simply pinched the inside piece of fabric with the bottom one, the raw seams both or the raw edges both facing out, and then pinned all along the bottom of the chair seat. Now this is your most forgiving seam because a cushion will be over it. So, you know, if you have to kind of cheat a seam somewhere or there's some kind of strange pucker or something, don't worry about it because nobody's going to really see it anyway. Okay, so now we're pinning on the front, I've been calling it kind of the apron of the chair. Okay, so here we are at the arm of the chair, and I wanted to make sure, first of all, you want to make sure that you get all of your raw edges pointing in the same direction, and you want to make sure that the piping that's coming from the arm gets in that, so you don't have a piece of piping sticking out. So I'm going to pin that to make sure that stays in place when I'm sewing it. Now when we get to here, I'm going to take a cue from what they did here. They had one piece of fabric that has a pleat in it. So let's see where I think I'm going to put my pleat. I think I'll put my pleat there. I think that'll be the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to pin this down, and then I'm going to pin a pleat in there. So I'll show you that in just a second. So I'll go ahead and pin the arm in. Again, making sure that I get the piping on the inside so I don't have it sticking out, which I've had that happen before. I forget to tuck it in and then I'm all proud of myself, I'm finished, and then there's this huge piece of piping sticking out. Okay, and for the pleat here, I'm just going to pinch the fabric so that it sits nice and tight where I want it, and I'm going to pin along the chair. And pin down as far as I want to sew. And then I'll just go ahead and cut that off. That's it. There you go. There's a nice pleat.